Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Today is day 103 of Israel's war on Gaza. Now, we call it the war on Gaza because it's not a war against Gaza. It's not a war against the Palestinians. It's not even a war against Hamas at this point. It is a full-fledged war on the Palestinian people, and specifically the Palestinian people of Gaza. And for that reason, every single day here on the channel, we cover the latest updates. Corporate media is not covering this, at least not the right way. Mainstream outlets are simply not telling the full story. They're not conveying all the information, all the issues, all the struggles, all the devastation that has occurred because of this war on Gaza. Everybody, if you're here for that, just drop your name in right now. Drop your name, your location. Give me your city, give me your state, give me your country. Let me know where you're writing in from as we talk about this issue. Again, day 103. It's incredibly important that we cover this stuff. Part of it is that corporate media doesn't pay attention anymore. On October 7th, it was the world's biggest story. By November 7th, it was still the world's biggest story. But as with all wars, unfortunately, violence becomes normal, particularly when the violence and the harm and the devastation is against vulnerable people, when it's against brown people and black people and Africans and Latin Americans and Muslims and Sikhs and anybody else who is seen as different than or non-white, frankly. So we're here every day covering the information so that you have the information. One of the most important things to do is remind you, sadly, of the current body count, the current losses. More than 24,000 Palestinians have been killed, more than 24,448 to be precise. Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. More than 61,000 more have been injured. You know, the death toll is stunning. But the fact that 61,154 people have been injured, and these aren't minor injuries oftentimes. We're not talking about broken arms. So many people have lost limbs. So many amputations have had to take place. So many children have been devastated by this as well. Of that 24,000 number, we're looking at more than 10,000 children killed in Gaza. That's 1%. It's 1% of the overall child population. Can you imagine there being 1.1 million people in Gaza who are children and 10,000 of them are killed? 1%? And we're told this isn't a war on Palestinians. We're told this isn't a war on Gaza. When you kill the children and you kill the elderly and you force people out of their homes, 1.7 million people have been displaced already out of the 2.2 million who live there. All of this is part of the devastation. And that's what we're covering. That's what we're talking about here. So I'm going to give you a quick breakdown before we roll out and just give you an update on what's going on. Again, in addition to those body counts, in addition to those devastating numbers that we just told you, there's some other things here. Qatar announced yesterday that Israel has agreed to the increased entry of medical aid to Gaza. The agreement mediated by Qatar in cooperation with France will also ensure medication for captives in Gaza as well. This is important. For the last 3 months, more than 100 days, again, 103 days now, medical attention has been incredibly difficult to find because the hospitals have been bombed, because medical workers have been killed. Others have been forced to shelter in place or shelter in other places. Many from the north have obviously had to go to the south. And then on top of that, groups like the World Health Organization have been blocked entry. Humanitarian organizations have not been able to get in. They've either been denied access or entry, or they have been denied security assurances. And as a result, there's been very little aid, very little medication, very little treatment that's been provided. And so the intervention of Qatar is a big thing. It's a big deal. Now, we don't know just how much access they'll have. We don't know how widespread this will be, but we'll stay on top of that so that you do know. Japanese shipping company Nippon Yusen, which operates the Galaxy Leader ship seized by the Houthis on November 19th, announced that it is suspending operations in the Red Sea. Other companies will also be following suit, I would imagine. But what we know as a fact is that Nippon Yusen is no longer going to be operating in the Red Sea. That means that the Houthis are succeeding in their resistance efforts. According to the Houthis themselves, these resistance efforts are designed to prevent or reduce the genocide, because they're saying that their blockade is conditioned on the continued bombardment of the Gaza Strip. Effectively, if Israel stops bombarding Gaza, we'll stop blocking the Red Sea, is what they're saying. And so the fact that companies are now pulling back and saying, hey, we don't want the smoke, we don't want the problem, says that the Houthis might be gaining some sort of advantage here, but that will be always countervailed by the United States. Joe Biden has committed very unequivocally, very unambiguously, that he is going to continue to bomb Houthis, who he referred to as outrageous 2 days ago in their behavior. And so it's going to be a struggle and a test of wills. Right, on Tuesday night, the United States demonstrated some moral courage, at least one person did, when Senator Sanders put forward a resolution calling for the State Department to basically report on Israel's human rights practices. And Senator Sanders' ultimate goal, of course, was to make any aid to Israel conditional upon the results of those human rights practices and those reports. You'll be shocked to know that minor act of courage was wholly thwarted and undermined by the rest of the U.S. Senate. More than 70 senators voted against the resolution. This wasn't a political defeat, a partisan defeat rather. This wasn't a situation where the Democrats got outnumbered by the Republicans and so they lost. No. This is a situation where Democrats and Republicans were cowardly. 72-11 was the vote. 72-11 was the vote. That is called the Foreign Assistance Act. And it was effectively tabled because Democrats and Republicans are cowards on this issue. And it's really that simple. Hit the like button if you agree with me. We're going to keep rocking though. Let's keep going. About 150 protesters from Mennonites Action, that's a Christian group, were arrested at the U.S. Capitol on Tuesday while calling for a ceasefire. So we're seeing resistance everywhere. Now to some less good news. According to Wafa, which is a Palestinian news agency, 15 people were killed following Israeli attacks in Khan Yunis and in Rafah. It's at the southern border yesterday. 15 people. Yesterday, we reported 22 people killed, I believe. Every day, we're seeing double-digit deaths. And these deaths can never become normal to us. These killings can never become ordinary to us. We must constantly spotlight these deaths. 15 people one day, 22 another day, 40 another day is an obscene number. And we have to continue to remind people that these are obscene numbers and that the death of Palestinians, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 15 or 1, is too many given the situation that we're in. These are all preventable, avoidable deaths. All right. An attack by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on the armed group Jaish al-Adil in Pakistan's Balochistan region or province, resulted in the death of 2 children. They killed 2 children. That's according to Reuters news agency. Some people are speculating that these attacks, these 2 deaths, were directly linked to the escalation of violence in Gaza. We're not sure if it is or not, but there's reason to believe that the battles that we're seeing in Gaza, of course, has instigated tensions or intensified tensions among not just Houthis in Yemen, but also among Hezbollah, which, of course, then creates a response from people who oppose Hezbollah and who oppose Iran more broadly. And so what you end up with is a proxy war, and you see more and more death. And what we just saw here by Iran in Pakistan has all the signs of an intensified regional conflict. Earlier today, Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded to this attack, and they warned that the incident could have, quote, serious consequences and that it was, quote, completely unacceptable. So now you see Pakistan straightening up its back potentially in response to Iran, which then creates more Sunni Shia tension, in addition to more regional conflicts between Iran, Pakistan, and now we're talking about already potentially Lebanon in the mix, and of course Israel's in the mix, and of course Palestine is directly in the mix. The U.S. is directly in the mix. So we're seeing just an expanded set of violence that is all avoidable if we simply got a ceasefire, which is the one thing that they don't seem to want to do. Palestinian fighters carried out attacks from northern Gaza, which has been devastated by Israeli bombardment. That's according to a report by the Institute of the Study of War and the Critical Threats Project. So we're seeing Palestinian resistance, Palestinian attacks from northern Gaza, a region that has been declared over and done with by the Israeli army. The Israeli government, in fact, has said, look, we're moving on from northern Gaza. We accomplished our mission there. Well, if the mission was to evacuate people from north to south, then yeah. If the mission was to displace people from their homes, yeah. If the purpose was to have an indiscriminate death or a civilian death toll that displays a level of indiscriminate killing unseen in modern warfare almost, then yeah, their mission's accomplished. If their mission was to actually eliminate Hamas, Hamas is still going. If it's to kill tons of Hamas fighters, they didn't. And so it's very interesting to see what we even mean, by that. The only other big story that I want to talk to you all about, or a few things. One, the World Economic Forum is coming up. Everybody from around the world is in Davos, and it will be interesting to see if Israel and Gaza is being spoken about. But I think the answer to that is, yeah, it will be. The question really is how. How will the global community engage this issue? Will they continue to pretend that this is a two-sided struggle? Will they continue to focus on October 7th, or will they focus on the events that got us to October 7th and the events that subsequently occurred after October 7th? Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, who is the Qatari Prime Minister, spoke at Davos yesterday, and he said that the situation in the Middle East is a quote recipe for escalation everywhere. Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani is speaking a sentiment that all reasonable people have said, from Secretary of Defense here in the United States to world leaders, to scholars, to policy experts, to activists. And that is, violence creates more violence. And specifically in this region, as long as there's an Israeli bombardment, there's going to be violence and escalation everywhere. And so at Davos, there needs to be a commitment, a concerted effort, a concerted commitment to preventing this from happening. Anyway, family, that's all we got time for today. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to shout out a few people here who have just been incredibly supportive of the channel. Henry Jackson just joined the channel and became a YouTube Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel member. I appreciate that. Y'all have no idea how much I appreciate that love and support. We also have here Joe Winograd, who sent this wonderful note. Thank you for all that you do, for bringing such moral clarity and being my primary source for updates on this ongoing genocide. That means so much. Thank you for your kind words and your generous donation to the channel. We appreciate it. Shout out to you, Ketiwe Zulu. Yep, I am on TikTok, for the record. I don't TikTok as much as I should, but I'm gonna try and get better at it, especially if people are actually coming on there. Shout you out, Carla Thomas. Shout you out, Ruben Gutierrez. Shout you out, Giovanni Da Capo. Shout you out, K Love. Shout you out, Ruben Gutierrez. Once again, I see you made two important comments here. Timbo Slice, I love the name. Shout you out, Netnael Aklile. Thank you so much for your generous commentary. Everybody, if you want to be part of the conversation. Oh, yeah. And you know what? Ted Offensive just said something that's really important. Ted said, hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button, man. We want to increase the algorithms. We want the numbers to go. We want the whole Twitter world to know what we're up to here. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And we're going to keep going here. In the meantime, family, hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you want to get regular content like this. Hit the little bell next to the subscribe button so that you can get updates for when we put out the new content. Hit the join button if you're so inclined and help build and invest and support this channel. We really, really appreciate it. We're grateful for all of our new members. And of course, you can also send a direct cash donation right to MLHTV. That's $$ MLHTV on Cash App. That donation allows us to expand the platform. It allows us to invest in technology. It allows us to invest in a studio, to build more equipment out, to help build that daily news show. And of course, to keep the podcast coming in, to add more voices to the platform. People like the great Mumia Abu-Jamal, who has a podcast with me called The Classroom in the Cell. Make sure you check that out. New episodes are available right now. In fact, check out all the new content on the channel just by going there. All right, family, I'll see you later. I'll talk to you. Peace.